ज्योति स्टेनो टाइपिंग कॉलेज में आप सभी का स्वागत है बच्चों। आज होली का त्यौहार है, आप सभी को जैसे उसकी बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं और उसके साथ एक संदेश। जो डिक्टेशन होती है बच्चों, जैसे मतलब भी हम जैसे मान के चलते थे भी एक पैटर्न पे ही आएगी। जैसे कोर्ट की हम डिक्टेशन लिखते हैं तो उसे सोचते हैं हम लीगली ही जैसे आएगी, उसमें कोई जनरल मैटर भी हो सकता है, सोशल इश्यूज भी आ सकते हैं। तो यानी कि आपको हर चीज़ पे पकड़ आपको बना के रखनी पड़ेगी। यानी कि जो है जो डेली बच्चा न्यूज़पेपर पढ़ता है और उसकी आउटलाइंस बनाता है फ्रंट पेज की, एडिटोरियल पेज की, स्पोर्ट्स पेज की, तो वो बच्चा जो है इन चीज़ों में जैसे इस तरह की डिक्टेशन लिखने में मार नहीं खाएगा। और जैसे मतलब भी अब जैसे टॉपिक्स मतलब हम बदल बदल के दे रहे हैं भी, जैसे मतलब बच्चा जैसे आपके दिमाग में भी ना आए भी किस तरह का टॉपिक जो है आपको बोला जाएगा। तो मैंने बच्चों को ये इस तरह के टॉपिक इसलिए मैंने बोले भी जिससे आप जो है पहले से ही ये रहें, हाँ भी जो मैटर बोलेगा वो मेरे लिए नया होगा। तो अब इस तरह से फैमिलियर के हिसाब से ना रहें, एक माइंड को जैसे मतलब भी पहले से प्रिपेयर करके रखना होता है, जिससे जैसे मतलब भी हम कोई भी डिक्टेशन आए तो 1-2 सेकंड्स के अंदर 10-15 सेकंड्स के अंदर अपने मन को उस तरफ डाइवर्ट कर दें, दिमाग को डाइवर्ट कर दें और उससे रिलेटेड हम डिक्टेशन लिखने में हमें आसानी हो। और फिर जो है हम उसको अच्छे से पढ़ भी पाएँ, जो वर्ड उस टाइम नहीं लिखे गए, जो पढ़ने के टाइम पे हम उसको जैसे शॉर्ट हैंड में लिखें। ज़्यादा करें शॉर्ट हैंड में ही लिखें, इंग्लिश भी लिख दोगे तो एसएससी उसको एरर नहीं मानता, लेकिन जैसे सीआरपीएफ में अगर आपने इंग्लिश लिख दी तो सीआरपीएफ में उसको एरर माना जाता है। इस बात का आपको पता होना चाहिए, ठीक है। तो अब मैं पढ़ने जा रहा हूँ डिक्टेशन नंबर 24। Dictation start after 5 seconds. The word cotton has Arabic origins derived from the Arabic word kutan or kutun. Cotton is arguably the world's most important non-food crop. It supplies about 80% of the world's natural fibers and continues to be primary material in half the world's textiles despite competition from synthetic fibers. Cotton is ideal for making cloth because its fibers bond and interlock when spun into long strands that can be easily dyed. Cotton accounts for 40% of the fiber used today. About 20 million farmers in 80 countries produce 44 million metric tons of cotton a year. Cotton was rightly called white gold once. The oldest cotton textiles were found in graves and city ruins in civilizations from dry climates where the fabrics did not decay completely. The oldest cotton fabric has been found in Huaca Prieta in Peru, dated to about 6000 BCE. Some of the oldest cotton balls were discovered in a cave in Tucan Valley, Mexico, and were dated to approximately 5500 BCE. The latest archaeological discovery in Meherghar puts the dating of early cotton cultivation and the use of cotton to 5000 BCE. The Indus Valley civilization started cultivating cotton by 3000 BCE. Cotton was mentioned in Hindu hymns in 1500 BCE. Herodotus and ancient Greek historian mentions Indian cotton in the 5th century BCE as a wool exceeding in beauty and goodness that of sheep, which suggests that the fiber was not yet known in Greece at the time. When Alexander invaded India, his troops started wearing cotton cloths that were more comfortable than their previous woolen ones. Strabo, another Greek historian, mentioned the vividness of Indian fabrics, and Arrian told of Indian Arab trade of cotton fabrics in 130 CE. Hand-held cotton gins had been used in India since the 6th century and were then introduced to other countries from there. Between the 12th and 14th centuries, dual roller jeans appeared in India and China. India had been an exporter of fine cotton fabrics to other countries since the ancient times. Sources such as Marco Polo, who traveled India in the 13th century, Chinese travelers who traveled Buddhist pilgrim centers earlier, Vasco da Gama, who entered Calcutta in 1498, and Tavarnaiar, who visited India in the 17th century, have praised the superiority of Indian fabrics. Archaeologists found recovered fragments of cotton textiles from as earliest as the Indus Valley civilization. The discoveries speak cotton was one of the most important products of the Indus Valley trade. Stepping into the next phase of history, in the medieval period, we also notice the cotton textiles in India ruling. Under the Mughal Empire, India was the largest producer of cotton. Countries like Africa, Arabia, Egypt, and Burma were the major importers of Indian cotton. The warm gear roller cotton gin, which was invented in India during the early Delhi Sultanate era of the 13th-14th century, came into use in the Mughal Empire sometime around the 16th century and is still used in India through to the present day. The largest manufacturing industry in the Mughal Empire was cotton textile manufacturing, which included the production of piece goods, calceus, and muslins available unbleached and in a variety of colors. When the British arrived in India, they had little knowledge of cotton, as the primary materials used for their dressing was linen or wool. The British merely utilized cotton for candle wicks. When European trading companies started sailing directly to India from 1498, they were carrying enormous quantities of Indian cotton back to Europe. These brightly colored cottons from India impacted how Europeans dressed themselves and furnished their houses. In 1664, the East India Company was established as the largest importer of cotton to Europe. A systematic plan was implemented to subdue the Indian textile industry and economy by coercing Indian farmers to abandon their farming of subsistence crops in favor of the cotton crop. Not only would this eventually subject farmers to a cycle of interest-laden debt, it would also eventually diminish the food supply greatly. After the introduction of the spinning mills during the Industrial Revolution, weaving mills in Lancashire started weaving cotton from India. The British exported duty-free Indian cotton thread from the spinning mills to the weaving mills in the UK. The finished product would then return to India to be sold as finished mill-made bulk cotton fabrics. These fabrics were the first product exported from the west to the east. This new system reduced Indian weavers and spinners to complete penury and in some cases total obsolescence. India had a 25% share of the global textile trade in the early 18th century. Indian cotton textiles were the most important manufactured goods in the world trade in the 18th century, consumed across the world from the Americas to Japan. The most important center of cotton production was the Bengal Subha province, particularly around its capital city of Dhaka. Bengal accounted for more than 50% of textiles imported by the Dutch from Asia. Bengali cotton style textiles were exported in large quantities to Europe, Indonesia and Japan, and Bengali muslin textiles from Dhaka were sold in Central Asia, where they were known as Dhaka textiles. India basically became an exporter of only raw material that was only to be sold back in India at rates that left local spinners and weavers unable to afford the cotton required for their production. The extraction and destruction of artisanal industries and agricultural practices that the land could not sustain ensued. The first mill in India was established in 1818 at Fort Gloucester near Kolkata, but was a commercial failure. In 1854, the second mill was established named Bombay Spinning and Weaving Company by KGN Deber, and thus the commercial foundation of the modern cotton textile industry was laid down. The inauguration of Shahpur Mill in 1861 and Calcio Mill in 1863 at Ahmedabad made the city to be well known as Manchester of India. पहले इसको जैसे अच्छे से पढ़ेंगे, पढ़ने के बाद बच्चों ये वेबसाइट पे लगा दी गई है, वहाँ जाकर के इसको टाइप कर देंगे। इस क्लास के अंत में बच्चों नमस्कार बच्चों।